Hey everybody, welcome back. As you may be able to tell, we have a camera now. So we'll be back to our old format.
This isn't even Grant's camera.
Yep,
It's only
this
been
is
a year
our
and
own
a half.
camera.
Wow, I bet none of our 8 Drunk View watchers ever thought they'd see us again. Probably completely forgot about us. But that's okay,
It happens.
because
Anyway.
we're starting 2020 strong with a movie from 2019.
Yep, we have A24's Uncut Gems. Connor, I think we should keep this one spoiler free for a while,
Mhm.
and then we can toss in a little spoiler warning before.
I don't think the
We
end
talked
really
about
needs
that.
to be spoiled to talk about it. I mean, I guess we'll do
I
that.
want to. I want to talk about it at some point. I don't want to talk about it
Okay.
during the plot summary or anything.
Well, there
so-
will be a spoil. We'll try to be better with our new Drunk View overhaul of actually doing spoiler warnings instead of just being like, and then Iron Man fucking died.
Okay, you didn't see that coming though. Robert Downey Jr. was like, yeah.
Hopefully
it's my last
nobody
movie.
watching this didn't see End. Okay, everyone who wants to see Endgame has seen Endgame, or they're
It's a
gonna
little
catch
too
it
late
on
for that.
fucking Spike TV or whatever in 5 years, Disney
Anyway.
Plus. So whatever.
Yeah, lay a plot on us for Uncut Gems. Real
Un-
nice and simple.
Uncut Gems stars a Jewish diamond dealer played by Adam Sandler named Howard, and he has a gambling addiction, and he meets up with Celtics guy, basketball dude,
Kevin.
Kevin Durant?
Nope.
No,
It's not Kevin James either. Kevin Garner.
not Kevin James either.
Kevin Garner.
Kevin Garner, who borrows a uncut black opal gem from him. And basically, the movie revolves around Adam Sandler trying to dodge loan sharks. His family hates him. He's got a gold digger girlfriend who might actually love him or something, but it's hard to say. The Weeknd shows up, and Adam Sandler's trying to pay his debts by basically doing one scam at a time, digging himself in deeper to put out old messes he's done. So, Aiden, what did you think of Uncut Gems?
It's fantastic, bro. It's fantastic. It's pretty slow. It is an A24 movie.
Does build.
Um,
It's like a crescendo.
Yeah. Adam Sandler is very, very good in it. There's never a point in the movie where you're like, oh, that's Adam Sandler. You know, at first you're like, Adam Sandler. And then 10 minutes in, you just forget that Adam Sandler exists. He's really good in it. There's, it's easy to say there's not a lot going on, but there kind of is a lot going on. It's kind of Sopranos-like, almost, where it's kind of just, like, technically it's kind of nothing happening, but it's interesting regardless of that. You learn a lot about Howie, and you learn a lot about his family, and shit. I'm trying to say it nicely, but I ain't too good at that. Let's see. Man, it's tough to talk about. I mean, there's a lot of stuff going on. Thematically, it's kind of a movie about trust and lying and getting in and out and knowing when to quit and all this.
Right.
Movie's really well shot, and the music is super good too.
Right.
It's got like a weird spacey.
And synth can go bad, like, as much as I liked, like, Annihilation, the synth in that at times was really good and sometimes was, like, ear rape. But in this movie, I actually felt like the synth worked super well.
Enhanced
in the
everything
film's
really good.
In the film's favor.
And there was sometimes, like a lot of the times it was
pizzazz
just
to it.
like super quiet, like melt into the background type, but there were times that it was actually somewhat memorable despite being kind of the same synthy progression throughout the whole thing.
Right.
There's lots of really clean shooting in there.
Yeah, there's a lot of really cool shots in this.
Yeah, I like at the Weeknd's concert, there's the black light,
Oh, the black. Yeah, the
which
cinematography
came out
is
really
good.
really nice.
I liked. There's one particular shot that stands out to me while we're on this topic because I bet I'll
Mm.
forget about it otherwise. But there's a part where like Adam Sandler's talking to his family and it's all calm, and then right away you hear a slam and he like pushes through a door, and then it's like one of the louder scenes again. And I thought that was kind of interesting,
Oh yeah, I like how
just like thematically how each scene almost has its own introduction. I think that's really
Yeah.
well done.
the sound. A lot of the scenes have like chaotic noise as well. It's like
Right.
especially when it's in his jewelry store,
Yeah.
where there's the door buzzer, and the door buzzer will be going off and people are yelling over each other, and there's people fighting and slamming, and
Well,
there's always like this just chaos building up slowly from
yeah. This isn't exactly like a Sunday afternoon watch, but it's definitely something I want to rewatch too, because I feel
Yeah.
like there's a lot you can get out on second listenings, viewings. I mean, even listenings, because sometimes, so Adam Sandler will be talking to somebody
Yeah.
in a scene, and then in the background, someone else is having a conversation that's actually pertinent to the plot, and you can like hear it going
Yeah.
down, and it's so interesting because then it builds and comes back. Like
Yeah.
you can see like. You can hear conversations with the basketball player in the background with his friend from
Yeah.
fucking what's his name, Z from Death Note or whatever,
L from Death.
L from
Yeah.
Death Note, and he's having a conversation about kind of like how like why is this dude leading me on and stuff, and that's in the background. How he's completely ignoring it, but then later in the movie, that conversation comes up between the basketball player and Howard, and it's really cool how they can kind of string together plots and like. The script doesn't just like stop on the page. Like there's another script behind everything,
Well,
which I think is really cool. How
I
they
think
did
the
that.
store is supposed to feel really chaotic. Is like
Right, the whole
almost-
movies feels
it's kind
very
of
chaotic,
foreshadowing
but
for the
especially
end.
the
But like every time that we're in the jewelry store, there's the start where Kevin Garner breaks the glass. There's when he's on the phone with his doctor and the God, what was his character name? His guard guy, his gang guy.
the dude who brought in the hood folk.
Yeah, the hood
and would
dude.
get the yeah, that
The
wasn't
hood
his
dude's-
bodyguard. He was just some dude.
He wasn't
who
his
would
bodyguard,
bring in,
but he
like,
was-
rappers
yeah,
and crap
he
or
was
whatever, some
kinda like
promoter
a-
type dude.
Yeah,
Right.
I think he was also kind of using him as muscle though.
Right. He kind of said something like that in the movie. I
But he's
think.
taking he's taking a call from his doctor that really has nothing to do with it, and the guy's trying to get his attention and digging through his safe, and there's like all this chaos, and even there was one scene earlier on where his Roman, that bald guy that works for him,
Right.
has like the polishers running the polisher and all this stuff's going on. So it always feels really chaotic whenever it's in the store. It's like something.
Right.
That's where all the
And
big
the
moments
really
are.
nice build-up is a lot of the times in movies, obviously, the loudest part's going to be the climax because that's when the action's happening. But I liked how the climax of this film was like eerily quiet.
yeah.
It's hard to say anything, and we'll probably talk about this later when we get to spoilers. But like it's like the first time you're in the jewelry store in the whole movie, and it's completely quiet. And I thought that was a really cool like the quietness is what adds the
Yeah.
tension to the finale compared to earlier where it's louder, and you get so used to that over the last 2 hours because this movie is really loud and chaotic because there's a
Yeah.
million things happening in every scene at once, and it makes
then
the world feel really alive too.
Every
which I like.
every scene in the store is also ended with like one last loud noise, and then it goes quiet when Kevin Garner falls through the glass, and when the dude they scream at him about the fish, and then he leaves, and then it gets quiet,
Right.
and then the last scene is kind of a reverse of that, where it's quiet, and then it goes out on a loud note. So.
Right.
It's interesting. A lot of themes and stuff you could pull from this. I think especially the big one that I got was like knowing when to stop. Like every time
Yeah.
he made a good decision, he'd follow it up immediately. Just do something
Well, and
stupid and
it
put himself
also
back in the
feels
same
like,
position or worse. And he's trying to play everybody, but he's just
But it also feels like it's not something where he's doing what he's doing because he wants to. It feels like he's almost life kind of reflects it, where it's like she is being harsh to him, and you actually feel bad for him because you can tell it's an addiction, even though it's like a negative thing, and he's had multiple chances to stop, but just keeps digging his hole deeper. Like, this dude is almost addicted to the lifestyle of make all this money so I can get, like, just put out a small fire, and now I created another small fire,
Yeah.
and it compounds to the end of the movie. And it's just really cool how they keep kind of ramping that up.
It's like a... Well, it does the... The movie's pretty mellow overall, but you kind of get, like... It's not a straight escalation, it's like escalation, de-escalation, bigger de-escalation. So it's more like a...
Yeah.
It's like riding a wave with him in the same way that he's riding waves, where every time he goes up, he's just back at the bottom, because that's kind of the nature of his addiction there.
I feel like the scene where he's at his daughter's play is like a good example, because
Yep.
it starts out, he's with his family, stuff's fine. He sees the people, like the people who are shaking him down, and he tries to confront them, so he gets thrown into the car, and then he gets put in the back of the car naked or whatever. Then he gets out of there, puts on his clothes, back into it. So I think it's a really interesting, like, psychology of the character. And I think another kind of interesting note, not to steal your thunder, but a lot of the movie, especially in the jewelry store, is shot really close up, which gives it kind of like a claustrophobic feel, which I just think is kind of interesting.
Definitely.
And it really, it's hard to explain, but it kind of works well with the tone. So I really liked that. It was very well shot.
So I guess that's my general thoughts before, like, we talk about the ending a little bit. You want to take over for a little bit? Lead?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of what I had to say about it we covered here. One thing I will point out is, like, I really liked how the movie started with, like, the people stealing the gem for him or whatever, like, taking it off the mine.
Yeah.
And then it zooms into the gem, and it kind of follows it
and then
through.
it's out of his colon, yeah.
And then it breaks out in the colonoscopy,
really
which is
clever.
paid off later. And it's an interesting way to kind of introduce the diamond, which, you know, and when I saw that, I thought Uncut Gems was kind of just like before seeing it, I thought that might just be like a blanket term. Like, maybe he buys like a bunch of like uncut diamonds or something and sells them underground. Because I really didn't know much about the plot going in. Well, whatever.
Yeah.
But seeing this diamond is kind of like, the diamond is, well, it's kind of important in the plot. It's an element of the plot. It's not like the main driving force of the plot. It's like a means to the end. Like,
yeah.
ultimately, it's just like kind
his
of
gambling
a
chip.
MacGuffin tool. It's his gambling chip. I wouldn't even call it a MacGuffin because he doesn't really go after it. It's just kind of like, it's an important object in the movie. It's kind of like I don't really have a good comparison, but it's kind of like almost like a reverse MacGuffin. Not really, because he kind of loses it and gets it. I feel like it's just an interesting, like, center driving point. When he gets the diamond is when this story starts, and then we kind of see a fragment. Because how it's set up to be is, like, this is, like, 3 days of his life, but this is what his life has been like every day.
Yeah.
And this is just, like, a look in a microscope on, like, a few days of his life and just how hectic it can be, because I don't know how many days exactly it was. I wish I paid more attention. I didn't, but it is probably less than a week or maybe a week.
Okay, Kevin Garnett's ring is Collateral,
and then
he's
Friday
supposed to come
was a
back
day
for it
later.
Friday. So
and then he got the ring on Monday.
And then he the auction happens on Monday. So I imagine that they would have said be back for it tomorrow if it was Thursday. So it was probably like Wednesday to Monday maybe. Although there was a second basketball game, I think they happened weekly, so I'd imagine it was about the span of a week, like maybe Wednesday to Wednesday or Thursday to Thursday.
Yeah, I think basketball does happen weekly. I don't know anything about basketball.
I
I
don't
know
know
baseball's
basketball,
like 5 games a week, but football is once a week. I would assume basketball's probably once
At
a week,
minimum,
'cause
it's
baseball's
Thursday,
easier.
Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. So at minimum, it's
Right.
5 days. So it's about a week.
It's something like a
regardless.
week, but still, it's not a huge span of time, so it's an interesting microscope. And then I do like how that like intro where it went through his colon, like the diamond of the colon to bring us into his story,
Yeah,
was
and then
kind of
ending on something
reflected
similar,
where
too.
it zoomed in a
Yeah.
similar fashion to the diamond, and then it went into the credits. Like I also thought that imagery was really cool, and especially with the powerful synths that played both times.
Yeah,
like
the synth is really
the synth is really good at intensifying it, and a lot of the times, like I thought the synth was kind of a strange idea, like because I heard about the synth. I think Grant, not gay Grant that showed up but different Grant.
Grant the Hermaphrodite.
Not Grant the Hermaphrodite, but Grant the not confirmed gay Grant, but probably gay Grant was telling me how he really liked the synths in it. I'm like, synths in a kind of like a drama. I was like, okay, because usually you see it in movies that are either 70s sci-fi or 70s sci-fi tributes. So, but the synth worked super well in it.
Yeah, it's super.
It
nice.
wasn't as ambient as I would say a lot of like synth would be in
I also like
sci-fi movies.
The featured rap music as well. There's a little bit.
Yeah,
Obviously,
there was Amen by
some
Meek
Weeknd.
Mill.
Amen was there.
Kendrick Lamar, Swimming Pools.
Yep.
And there was one more.
The Weeknd did which Weeknd song?
Did he recognize that song? I don't remember what song it was.
I recognized it, but it's
Was it off Trilogy or something?
Yeah, it must have been.
It must have been, because it was supposed to take place in 2012,
2012,
so that would have been way before like Beauty Behind the Madness. And he probably wouldn't have played anything from, what was that horrible album, like Hill Time or whatever? Not Hill Time, fucking
I don't know.
Green Michael Jackson clone album. I don't know, it was probably one of his big songs from like his early days.
Yeah.
But that was kind of cool. Yeah, and I felt like it was smart
Sound design
to...
is super, super good in this
It
movie.
was smart to go to like the hip hop based on that, because we kind of entered like that hip hoppy culture.
Yeah, a lot of
with
it
like
is
that
kinda hip-hop
underground
culture.
hip hop. Like that's like a side of this movie. Like
It is a
obviously,
pretty big
like
side, yeah.
like that supporting character L from Death Note. Can't remember his name, so I'm just gonna call him that. He kind of was bringing rappers and basketball players and stuff because he had kind of connections in that area.
Well, they made kind of an
And then
offhand comment
the
about
girlfriend
him.
knew about the weekend.
Him in like the early 2000s supplying rappers with chains.
Right. He said the early day music videos, so I don't know if that meant like Adam Sandler was getting Run DMC his fucking Furby chain or what. But
I'm guessing it meant like late 90s, early 2000s kind of.
regardless,
Early MTV
but yeah,
era, you know.
which was kind of cool to see. Like he's been in the business a long time, and kind of like just see how he dug his hole. Overall, like I really liked this movie. It's one of those movies where like I feel like the sound design could put people off, but it added so much depth to the film. That's something to keep in mind. So I think
sounds so good.
I think we can segue into spoilers
do you
and
wanna-
just briefly
You
talk
want to
about
just
that.
just like recommend it real quick before?
I think it's pretty clear from our
Yeah.
review
Okay.
so
Well,
far.
in case it wasn't obvious, you should check this movie out. I definitely recommend going in as blind as possible and just don't watch the last half of this video if you haven't, or not half, but don't watch the end of this video if you haven't seen it yet, because it makes it.
Yes, obviously I would also recommend this film. I very much enjoyed it. run away now. Leave, go see it. It's doing pretty well, I think, so it'll probably be in theaters for a while. So
Yeah, it seems to be doing good.
So I would definitely say next time you have free time to see a movie, hit this shit while it's still in theaters. Star Wars is going to be in theaters for the next 2 months. Hit Uncut Gems while it's still in theaters the next 2 or 3 weeks.
Yep.
Alright, so in 3 seconds we'll go to spoilers. 3, 2, 1. Alright. So Aiden, do you want to
Yes.
get into spoilers?
The movie, the climax of the movie, Howie, he sells the gem to, he sells the black opal to Kevin Garnett. I don't know anything about basketball.
Well, Kevin Garnett...
He immediately, instead of paying off his debts, decides to make a risky bet on Kevin Garnett to change his 175K into 1.2 million.
We should also point out that earlier when Kevin Garnett first got the stone, he did incredibly well in the basketball game and would have won Howie a bunch of money.
Yeah,
but unfortunately, the bet was canceled by his
stepbrother,
brother-in-law, his brother-in-law or whatever, Arno,
who he owes money,
who he owns money to, and like the hitmen, or not the hitmen, but the
enforcers.
The enforcers are kind of like hired by him.
So Arno and the enforcers are there. He has them locked in the little gateway area that's sectioned off with the buzzers, and he places this large bet where he's trying to make his 125 or his 175 into like 1.2 million or something. And they sit there and watch the game together, and Arno ends up having successfully gotten
and this is a pretty long scene.
the bet.
If you're watching this, hopefully
Very
you've seen
long,
it. But
very
like
long.
I was saying earlier, this entire scene is is pretty quiet. Like there's the basketball game on, but even that is like through the TV, so it's not like super loud. It's a pretty, in terms of the film, it's pretty quiet. So a lot of tension kind of builds while they're trapped in there.
Yeah, and then upon winning the bet, he finally lets Arno and his enforcers out, and immediately after getting out, the enforcer...
The one that looks like Dolph Lundgren shoots him in the face.
Shoots him in the head, and that kills Howie. And then they kill Arno and loot the store.
Kind of like, what the hell, man?
Yeah.
Because,
I guess,
because it's a pretty crazy twist, too, because I want to point out, like, the music kind of starts swelling, like, oh, happy ending time.
too, where
he's kind of rooting for Howie to get out of it and stuff.
Yeah. And then, I guess it's just the conclusion to his, the up and down, where it's just the highest he gets and then the hardest he falls.
Yeah.
And I guess the enforcer was just sick of dealing with it, and I guess the enforcer probably knew that it wasn't the end of it, that it just keep going, and
right.
He was sick of Arno kind of enabling him, and just got rid of both of them and gave up. And so it's a very interesting ending. You got some thoughts about it? You wanna?
I really liked the ending because I think, like, thematically with the movie, it is about addiction. So Howard, in a way, is a victim, but you also understand, like, why the hitman would be upset and just be done with the whole situation.
Yeah.
So I thought it was, like, an incredibly interesting way to handle, like...
Yeah.
Like, he's done with Howard's shit. He's just ready to be like, okay, I'm done with this. And it's kind of like, it was an inevitability. If it didn't happen in the scene in the movie we saw, it would have happened eventually, where he couldn't just keep running from this. And it's like, obviously, the lifestyle he was living, even though Arno isn't fully a bad guy and isn't necessarily doing something, because it seems like he genuinely wants to quit. Based on scenes we've seen earlier, it seems like he also genuinely doesn't, but that's more the addictive quality of his lifestyle.
Yeah.
And obviously his lifestyle,
well, it's
based on, we see him get beat up numerous times, we see him constantly getting robbed, he's constantly just trying to put out small fires, and it's like,
Well, the ending feels super, super real. It's kind of bizarre how real it feels. It's not like Hollywoody at all. He lets him out, he gets shot, he falls over, and then it's quiet for a few seconds, and then Arno starts freaking out. They shoot
Right.
Arno, and then the movie ends kind of the opposite, where it was quiet for the whole climax, and then right after they shoot him, and it's loud for a second, they shoot Arno, and then they just start smashing everything in the store and stealing, and it goes out on that.
well, actually, it
Yeah, I
zooms
know.
in. It does the
that.
zoom in, and it zooms into like his bullet hole, and it zooms in and does the same like kind of thing. It shows it went through his body at the start, and I thought it was, and then
Yeah.
moving to credits, which I thought was like one of my favorite
Yeah.
into credits jumps of all time.
Yeah,
that
it
was
was
just
super
like
good.
a magnificent scene.
But yeah, it's really, really real and
Yeah,
kind of shocking.
it's awesome.
It gets you. I'm good.
Cool.
So I think that about wraps it up, huh? You got
No,
much more to add?
I think
mean,
that's about it. Like we said before, the spoilers. Obviously, we recommend Uncut Gems. If you haven't seen it, I would almost suggest seeing it a second time. I haven't yet, but I plan on it just because
yeah.
I think there's so much to unpack in the movie. It's definitely worth a second
Yeah.
watch.
I want to go through and just focus on all the side conversations,
Right, like side
all the
conversations.
background noise, I guess.
And just kind of like on top of like, because especially like even though the movie, I feel like watching like just the plot unfold and seeing that ending is surprising, it would be so interesting. Like I still feel like the rewatchability of the movie is really there because how much stuff is going on at all times.
Yeah, it's really,
that
really
there's so
dense.
much shit to unpack, and even like I let myself kind of zone out of the main plot for a second and just pay attention to stuff in the background. And it's like even that stuff is really well done. So I feel like this is something I would recommend.
Yeah, there's
watch
like so
more
many
than
subtle
once.
things in the conversations. Like at the end when he's watching the game and his wife is at like her sister's house or whatever. And
Yeah, and
the
she's-
kids are
she's
all
on
talking, and she's like, he was naked and in the. Behind other voices
Stuff,
and layers
right.
and noises, and it's chaos all the way through, but it's like levels and waves of chaos. It's really
Right.
smart.
Yeah, and obviously like all the acting was great. So yeah, no, obviously we recommend it. Thanks for watching. This will be our current drunk view format from now on. Hopefully our camera quality is a little better than it used to be.
Oh, it certainly is.
We're planning on getting a boom mic, lights
Yep.
within the next
Production's
couple of
gonna-
weeks. So we're trying to just kind of get production values up and come back into these stronger than ever in 2020. So thanks for watching, guys. Have a fantastic evening. It's the back button behind the